Welcome to Set and Forget Traders, where precision meets patience. This isn't guesswork, it's strategy, structure, and the smart money's roadmap. If you're tired of chasing trades, strap in. We'll show you how to trade like the banks and not against them. If the market noise has been costing you money and peace of mind, you are in the right place. Hit the subscribe button. This is where structure meets mastery. Trading in the coming week, and let's delve into what you're supposed to do. So you are to see that the last day of the week on Friday, the candle closed very interestingly. The winners of the day were the sellers, but we're here now to make peace with the justice, so that we might be able to know what we'll be anticipating in the coming week 30. So stay glued to the understanding, and let's delve into it. So right from the previous analysis, this, I think it was around week 26 or something. Yeah, you could be able to see that the buyers originated from the demand zone, and it was just a confirmation. Here, the buyers were coming from this demand zone, and they took price into the next demand zone, into the last week of June. So on July, the buyers took profit since they were in control. They took profit right at the demand zone, and after they took their profits, you could see the volume reduced. All right. So this was our first entry at the demand zone after the buyers had taken their profit. And it was so precise that they were taking profit right at the decimal line of the demand zone, 1.37354. And our next analysis was, where is the price going to come? After seeing that the buyers have taken their profit, we could be able to analyze the market and tell all of you that the buyers are going to retrieve. If not at the pivot, the buyers are going to come down here at the next demand zone. So this is what you've seen. This is just the first week of the month of June, the first and the second week of the month of June, and we have seen a drop. July, we have seen a drop of 3,560 points. You missed the first phase. You missed the first phase of demand, and then you missed the second phase of demand because you don't know what to rely on. We have already secured, this is around 7,000 points worth of trading within 2 months, all right? But maybe you lost too much money because you didn't know the laws that are being applied here. So after the buyers are taking their profit, after this, the buyers are here right now where they are, and you could see there was a retracement. Let's get close. You see the last day that the market pushed down into the demand zone. The market closed exactly at the proximal line of the demand zone, 1.33786, and the decimal line is around at 1.33476. You can see this precision is not just a coincidence, because the next day you could be able to see a shockwave, and there was a pullback of around 1,000 points, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 1,095 points pullback since buyers had made their entry. And if we check on the supply chart to see if the sellers had already taken their profits to allow buyers to come in, you'll be left bewildered, because sellers took their profits at the pivot, 1.33744. So this marriage of supply and demand allowed the reaction of this level. So back to our demand chart. If you know the buyers are aligned at this demand zone, you're able to plan your trades. So you're able to come from this level into the next demand zone. Again, that's around how many points? 3,900 or so. So we are left with only these two trades currently in the trade, because we've taken the first contracts, we've taken the profits. Now we're left with these two trades. So we are here to analyze what we think will happen next week and what we anticipate in the coming months. So you'll be interested to know why we took these second contracts at this level. If we check on the 4-hour candle, you'll be able to see that there are lower time frame demand zones on those lines. The first blue and the second blue, those are the lower time frame demand zone. So we knew that buyers have taken their partials. All right. So this reduced volume allowed the sellers to come in, and next the buyers, the market pushed up into the first lower time frame and into the second lower time frame. That's why we were able to place our sell limit order after the buyers have already exhausted their current, and we could push price into where the next institutional buyers are going to align themselves at. And what you're seeing is the pivot. Price reacted back to the pivot. All right, this is not a guesswork. This is just a quality analysis and a reaction. All right, the buyers took profit and went back into the pivot where they were rejected after they took their partials, and price came lower during the New York session of Friday. All right, and you might be interested to see how precise our levels are, because you see right from the lower low of this last bearish candle. All right, I'm trying to put it out for you to see it. You could see buyers coming in on the next candle. All right, because we know where the diastole order block is. You see on this, after the sellers are taking profit, buyers already making sure that they can push price higher right at the entry of the proximal line of the demand zone. Yeah, buyers are coming in sharply and without hesitation. So it's only those traders who use the limit orders. We don't wait for price to react to that we enter. We just position our entries before price react to the levels, and we were able to see all this. Even I presume on this day, it was on Tuesday, around on Tuesday, the market, I think it tested again. Yeah, you can see the buyers taking profit and allowing market to drop after they have taken their profits. So guys, don't be cheated. This thing is well calculated, and if you don't understand the laws of demand and supply, you're going to leave your profits right in the market, and the institution are going to leave you there crying. Let's try and see if again buyers entered and took their profits right at that demand zone. Yeah, you cannot see it clearly. Let's check lastly on the 15 minutes time frame to observe what really happened. Again, you see the last day the buyers taking profit first time, and the second time they took their profits. Now that's why the price fell. Yeah, on the 15 minutes time frame, yeah, there's lastly, let's check on the 5 minutes, then we just consolidate our thoughts. We move on to the supply chart. Yeah, before we move on to the supply chart, we might want to make a review of what we anticipate in line with the demand chart. So yeah, here we are. So you see the last candle on the 5 minutes time frame, the buyers took profit here, and now the sellers made an entry. Very precise, hidden in the plain sight of your eyes. So what are we expecting in the coming week? What are we expecting? We're expecting that if buyers come, we expect buyers to make an entry at this level. The proximal line is 1.33786 and the diastole line is 1.33476, and their take profit will be 1.34724. So if price advances past this pivot zone, be sure that the buyers are going to be aggressive and push price higher. If they're going to be held below the pivot, then we adjusted our proximal line, but we'll set it later on. So the best place to buy this week, if you are a buyer intentionally, will be to buy at this lower time frame demand zone. The lower time frame demand zone is at 1.32423 and 1.33042. Stay tuned. Let's go to the supply chart. All right. So this week, what really happened? This was on Monday, this was on Tuesday, this was on Wednesday, this was on Thursday, and this was the last day trading last week. So sellers made an entry and they took profit at the pivot level 1.33744. That's where the sellers took their profit, and after they took their profit, the reduced volume caused price to pull back quickly, and then the next day they made an entry and they took again their profits right at the pivot, 1.33744. This was a very sharp exit, and it's only those who had this understanding could fulfill their will. All right. Then on Friday, price went up after the sellers took profit, and lastly, the close of the week, the price came down. So what happens to the coming week? We anticipate price to move into the higher time frame supply zone. All right. The higher time frame supply zone is at 1.32090, but the main supply zone is at 1.28012. I'm hiding it again so that if you've caught it, please jot it down. But for the near-term weekly time frame, we expect sellers to push price into the next supply zone, 1.32090. If you're buying, make sure you accommodate 2,000 points worth of risk. If you want to buy, those who want to buy, make sure you accommodate this risk, because it is going to hit, sad to say. So if price goes below the pivot 1.33744, then that will be a green flag for the price to go lower and lower into 1.32098. So be tuned. And if the sellers sellers need to push price lower. There's no way up. So sellers might take profit at 1.33425. all right, 1.33425. Look at these beautiful entries of sellers. They take profits and price goes up. Yeah, so I hope that's clear. If you are sellers, just hold on to your sell. If you're buying, take your profit at 1.34724, and if price goes above, you're good to continue buying. But if you're sellers, just wait for price to go below the pivot 1.33744, and your will be fulfilled. Let's check on the moving average. This is the retail traders moving average, and this will be the institutional moving average. So on the retailers moving average, let's check on the monthly time frame. We don't have a support of price. Price should continue going lower in the next month up to 1.31610. On the weekly time frame, we expect the first support to be at 1.3248, and the second support to be around 1.30939. On the daily, we saw the resistance pushing price lower. So the resistance was the key sub resistance, the moving average, and we expect price to go lower into the next support at 1.33171, and the next support will be around 1.31194. Yeah, that's it. So we expect on the 4 time frame, sellers are really in for a good ride. The next take profit will be around 1.32364, the next support on the 4 time frame. A good pair to sell. On the institutional, let's start on the monthly time frame. Sellers are committed to push price lower. On the weekly time frame, the support is at 1.3344, and the next support is at 1.31443. On the daily time frame, the price closed exactly at the support, So if the daily candle tries to go bullish, we expect resistance at 1.35160. So our entry is well above the protection of the resistance, and we expect price to go lower to 1.32214. All right, 1.32214 on the daily. That's about 1,800 points worth of trade this coming week. On the 4-hour time frame, price is poised for a bearish market up to the next moving average 1.33383. That's it. Lastly, let's check on the simple moving average. On the monthly time frame, price hits the support, which looks aligned to the supply. On the weekly time frame, the price has hit the support. Let's see what the week will hold for us. On the daily candle, the price looking bearish. On the 4-hour time frame, price looking bearish up to 1.33374. Yeah, that's it for the analysis. Thank you for your time and staying tuned, because you having your trade on GBPUSD. This will be very informative for you to supplement your sentiments. Be sure to remember what you have said. We have altered this, but we are anticipating price should be bearish this coming week up to 1.33744, and if price goes below that, we are going to sell up to 1.3290. Stay blessed, have a good week, set and forget your trades, and remember to manage your risk well. Managing your risk is the core value. This comes second to risk management. Cheers, have a good week.